We have breaking news here on Philadelphia Eagles now, as the Eagles have finally done it. They have traded star pass rusher Haason Reddick to the New York Jets. Producer Chip here, filling in for Chase Sr., who's out traveling this weekend. And you know, I had to come on here and get you guys a video because that's what we do here on Eagles Now. When breaking news happens, we get you a video, we get you informed. So make sure you subscribe so you never miss a thing when it comes to the Eagles. So let's get right into it. Haason Reddick traded from the Birds to the New York Jets in exchange for a conditional 2026 third-round pick that could become a second-round pick if Reddick plays 67.5% of the snaps and has 10 or more sacks this season for the Jets. So when it comes to the compensation, right, I never truly thought the Eagles were going to be able to get a first-round pick for Reddick, a player who is entering the final year of his contract. The Jets are going to have to give him an extension if they want to pay him. I didn't think a first-round pick was truly in the works. Now, getting a third that could become a second, it's not very hard for it to become a second-round pick. 10 sacks, something that Haason Reddick has easily been able to do the past couple of years for the Birds. But, I think the Brian Burns trade, when you look at what the Giants gave up for Brian Burns, right? A second-round pick, a fifth-round pick, and another conditional fifth-round pick for a player like Brian Burns, who, a little bit younger than Reddick, certainly, and got a huge extension as well from the Giants. Reddick was looking for reportedly $25+ million a year. And in the offseason, we knew one of Josh Sweat, one of Haason Reddick was going to be traded. And obviously Sweat got the extension, got his new deal. And we kind of know in the past couple of weeks, Reddick's going to be on the move here. Just what can they get for him? And, if that ends up being a second-round pick, I think you'll take it if you're the Eagles. Because that $25 million that he was asking for, in terms of edge rushers, Myles Garrett's at $25 million a year. TJ Watt, $28. Brian Burns now coming in at $28. Nick Bosa, completely above the market at $34. So, is Reddick quite to the caliber of a Myles Garrett, of a TJ Watt? I don't necessarily think so. Now, I love Haason Reddick, right? He has been a great player for the Eagles over the past couple of years. 2022, when they made that big run to the Super Bowl, obviously losing to the Chiefs, 16 sacks. He was a Pro Bowler, an All-Pro second-team player. He was tremendous. And even last year, in what was a down year for the Eagles, especially on the defensive side of the ball, nearly everybody had regression, especially statistically. 11 sacks, still had 13 TFLs, 23 QB hits, as opposed to last year, 2022, he had 26 QB hits, 11 TFLs. He was still a Pro Bowler this year. He was still very good. But I think when it came down to it is if they were able to get that second-round pick, which looks like they're going to be able to get if Reddick can meet the requirements, I think the Eagles were fine moving on, especially because, you made the necessary moves on the roster to prepare for moving on from Haason Reddick, right? Obviously, they signed Bryce Huff in free agency, who now sort of a swap of edge rushers here, funny enough. Bryce Huff coming in from the Jets to the Birds, Haason Reddick leaving from the Eagles to go to the Jets now. But you signed Huff in free agency, and, obviously we haven't seen quite the level of production from Huff, and especially when it comes to play time, hasn't played nearly the amount of snaps that Reddick has in terms of percentage on the field. But, they're betting on Bryce Huff here to come in and really be this team's number one edge rusher. You obviously have Sweat on one side, right? And you feel very comfortable about that. But now you're really looking to Bryce Huff, and you're going to be looking as well to Nolan Smith. When this team drafted Nolan Smith, he was kind of dubbed as the Haason Reddick replacement eventually. I don't think a lot of us thought necessarily that he'd be having to step into Reddick's shoes this early. But look, I like Nolan Smith a lot as a player. I liked him a lot coming out of Georgia. You obviously brought back Brandon Graham as well. I think this team prepared for the possibility of losing Haason Reddick. And again, they were fine moving on because of the contract. So, now with Vic Fangio coming in, they're probably going to be moving to more of a 3-4 hybrid kind of scheme. Who are you going to have standing up? Who's going to have their hand in the dirt? We'll see. I thought Reddick could have been good in that system. But look, if you can get Nolan Smith to step up, who granted we haven't seen too much from him yet, then you should be okay. Bryce Huff as well. Haven't seen too much from him yet in terms of truly being able to put it all together on the field for, an extended amount of snaps. But, this defense was obviously not good down the stretch last year. And, losing one of your better players over the past couple of years, one of the most impactful players you've had on your defense, it's not ideal, but Howie Roseman's a very smart man, a very, very smart man. He understands the cap. He understands salaries. He understands, where to spend money. And, he's not going to pay someone more money than he thinks they're worth. And look, it's great for Reddick. I don't want to say he's not worthy of a big payday because he's been great. And, if he goes to the Jets, has a good season, they pay him. That's amazing. I'd love to see him get paid and get his money. But, the Eagles have other extensions you're going to have to worry about. They obviously gave money to Josh Sweat. They obviously just signed Landon Dickerson to that massive historic extension. And they're going to have to eventually pay Devontae Smith. And when you're already paying people like a Jalen Hurts, like an A.J. Brown, you have to make choices. And I think this was the choice that they felt most comfortable making. And, could they look to the draft potentially and go get another edge rusher somewhere in the early rounds? I could see it happening. I still think there's other needs, but I don't think it's going to be one guy that can truly replace Haason Reddick's production. I mean, that speed, that bend he has around the edge, there's no one on the Eagles roster right now, at least, that has shown to be able to do what Reddick does. But I think if you have a combination of Bryce Huff, obviously Brandon Graham will get in there. He's not going to play very many snaps, but he can still be effective when he's called upon. You have Huff and you have Nolan Smith. Can those two, along with Josh Sweat, be enough to get after the passer? Because we saw how bad the secondary was last year, and if we're going in to next season with James Bradbury, who is still slated to be the starting outside corner, an aging Darius Slay, obviously you did improve bringing in C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You have Reed Blankenship back there, but man, it was a shaky secondary, and it all starts up front. And, obviously you lose Fletcher Cox on the inside. So they're going to be relying on a lot of new guys here, man. No more Reddick, no more Fletcher Cox. You're really going to be relying on Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter up the middle. Milton Williams as well is going to be an important piece. And now you have Sweat coming back. You have Huff. You have Nolan Smith. What's this defensive line going to look like? How are they going to be able to put it all together? We will see. But Haason Reddick, officially now a New York Jet, traded from the Eagles. Very interested to see what your guys' reaction is to this. Do you like the move? Do you not like the move? Would you have paid Haason Reddick $25 million a year if that's what it would have taken to keep him around? Or are you saying, hey, Howie, he knows what he's doing. I trust him. I trust the guys we have. I trust our coaching staff with Vic Fangio coming in, getting this new scheme going. I think we can replace what he's done. Let me know your thoughts on the signing. Be sure to hit that thumbs up icon, like the video, and subscribe. We keep you updated on all breaking news here on Eagles Now. Hope you all have a tremendous weekend.